Attack is back, Jack, with Paul and Zack, your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb, and I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, the 7-foot tonight Las Vegas showgirl, the Wrecking Ball, Paul Isadora. Paul from California, still in Nevada, but to Vegas. Welcome to the Going Over podcast. How are you doing?
Oh, I have absolutely been better. Just had to put one of my dogs down today. So definitely a sad day in our family, and we had our bull mastiff for nearly 8 years. Got him as a brand new puppy. It's a birthday gift for myself, and today was the day, man. We had to make the hard call of putting him down. He had aggressive cancer, so we had to make that decision. Not the start to the day that I wanted, but got to take a nice long drive with one of my daughters here to Vegas for a basketball tournament. So that's going to be hopefully be a great thing for the next couple days here. Get our mind off of that. Hopefully get some good experience, and it's the same thing that we're trying to do for pro wrestlers, man. We're trying to encourage them to go out and get experience, right? Put yourself in a difficult spot. Put your ego aside. Try to learn something this weekend, and just get better, right? We talk about so much that we want to take one thing and try to improve on that each wrestling match. So I'm hoping that the last podcast hit home with some people, and maybe this weekend they go out and they try to call it in the ring. So let's see if that happens.
Well, yes, it did, and sincerest apologies, condolences about the dog. I understand. I have 2 dogs right now, half Great Pyrenees, half Border Collie, Roscoe and Callie, and I love my dogs more than anything in the world. They're hairy as shit. They bark a lot. They piss me off, but they are amazing dogs, and I don't know what I'd do if I woke up and they weren't jumping up on the fucking sliding glass door begging me for their bacon snacks in the morning. And we talked about that podcast did, quite a few people reached out to me today and talked about that last podcast, how it hit home. And we always have this saying on here, and that saying is, if you think we're talking about you, there's a good chance we are. And that's not just as someone specifically. We're not specifically talking about you. If you hear us say something and you think we're talking about you or a situation, we definitely are talking to you, because you are listening to what we're saying. And whether you're taking offense or you're just saying, hey, I am a person who I'm an offender. I've done this, and I just wanted to be clear too as we move on, and I'm pretty sure you can justify this as well. These are all mistakes. These are all naive things. These are all stuff that I had to learn along the way, and I know you had to learn along the way. So as we're saying these things to people, and I know sometimes I come across and I'm like, hey, maybe I should go up to the promoter and ask him what he wants to see from me. I'm not trying to belittle anybody or be passive aggressive or anything. That's my personality, and I have made these same fucking mistakes, man. So I'm here to tell everybody, whether you're listening or not, whether you like me or not, don't really give a shit. But if you do like me, I'm here to tell you that I've made these same errors many, many times in my life, probably more than you will make them. I am just here because I enjoy doing this. I enjoy your company, Paul. And most importantly, this podcast, I feel it once this thing really takes off and people go back and start listening and we reiterate moving forward, I feel like this thing is going to help a lot of people out. And your thoughts on that too?
Yeah, I think just like you said, kind of to reiterate what you're saying, and we're talking about things that happen to a lot of people, right? I know that we talked about how we had those people that we were like, man, I think that that person could have done well, and they quit or they took the easy way out, the path of least resistance. And just like you said, if you feel like it applies to you, it probably does. But it's not because we're talking specifically about you, but it is because it is an offense that happens to a large number of people, right? So I feel like we talk about things uh, that happen to a lot of different people, and it has nothing to do with one person in particular. It's a blanket statement that can cover a lot of situations. So I think because of that, so many people feel like they fall under that umbrella, right? Oh, that sounds like a situation that I did, right? And I feel like so many of these situations um, directly correlate to something that I've done, a mistake that I've made, a lesson that I had to learn, whatever it is. And really, that's the goal of what we're doing. This is us being around for decades and making tons of mistakes. And it's kind of funny because I know when I talk to my kids about different things, I always preface things by, I know you're probably not going to listen to me because of my experience. You're probably going to have to make this mistake on your own, and you're going to have to find out, right? All I'm trying to do is
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to give you a little heads up, like, hey, this is something that I screwed up in the past, and I'm trying to give you a little bit of a warning. Be careful, don't screw the same thing up because I've done it in the past, and I want you to learn from my mistakes. But um, you know, that's just how it is, man. I feel like we the wrestling business is surrounded with a lot of people that are in the same boat, right? It's like, well, I'm not going to make that mistake or whatever. Why should I listen to these guys? It's one of those situations where sometimes you just have to make these mistakes on your own, right? And and figure it out, right? Hey, that series didn't work, or hey, planning an entire match in the back that didn't work, right? Because these fans were just completely silent, right? They weren't into this match at all. So that can be a great indication that don't plan out an entire match in the back, right? Because you have no idea what these fans are wanting to see and what's going to excite them. So that's why we talk so much about listening to the crowd and feel it out there in the ring. Uh, I think the one thing is that people want to do a bunch of showy stuff, right? And it's like, well, I can't call this big showy spot that I want to do out in the ring, right? And in most cases, that's a great indication of maybe you don't need to do that spot, right? If it's going to take too much communication for you to put a spot together, maybe you don't need to do it, right? But I think that gets right into the Venice DeMarco comment about we need to learn how to work so we can have the ability to choreograph, right? Because then we
Whenever.
can throw those, so we can throw a couple big spots together in the back and go, hey, if there's a spot in the match where you think this is going to work, then we can just kind of say, hey, that whatever that drop kick spot, let's go to that next, right? Because you kind of figured out like, hey, this might be a good little sequence for us, but it definitely needs to fit, and the crowd needs to be ready for it. So that definitely those things are there.
Well, it's that a roller coaster, right? We say it all the time. You hear so many coaches, promoters, everybody say it's the roller coaster, man. We're taking them up, we're bringing them down, we're taking them up, we're bringing them down. And there's so many people that use the analogy of the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of this business, and they don't have any ebbs and flows in their matches. And they're not living their life by the roller coaster. They're not bringing the fans up because essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to get them to bust. You know what I mean? We're trying to get that audience all at one time, whether it's the finger bust or it's the close-handed bust. We're trying to get that ejaculation from everybody at one time. The grand finale of the fireworks, but then we're trying to pace it out. We're trying to pace it out, and that becomes a problem too. We talked last week about, or we talked today, Friday, whatever. Yeah, we talked to today's episode that would air back. I'll just say last week. God, it's so hard to. We talked about Sergio. We talked about what I called a milk match, and I believe the pre-show match is a milk match. I believe that is the heel goes out, he milks him up. The baby goes out, he claps him up. Cheerleads him around. We get going. We give him something basic. We don't go the top. We don't go the outside. We don't hit a bunch of crazy shit. We give them the old milk match. And as we build this card up, we have to realize something. Okay, what's your first tag match on the card? And that's something I didn't mention from the last show, was like the appeal versus the dudes. And I'm just using my show as an example. The tag team championships were on the line, and the tag team championships finally changed hands. And they had to change hands. If the appeal didn't win these tag team championships, then nobody would have given a shit about this team. It was time to do that. They got a good pop. But later in the card was OC Hayes and Cass versus the Unwanted, right? So in this particular instance, OC Hayes and Cass versus the Unwanted was I think it was match 3, match 4 if you're counting the pre-show. The opener, or match 2 if you're counting the pre-show, was the tag team championships. So match 1, since it's their third match, titles are flipping, it's match 1. That one's only going somewhere in the ballpark of 7 to 8. Go home at 5, however long your finish is. That's what I started writing on these things. Go home at this time. I didn't write 7 to 8 minutes, because we're never going to hit that time. But if they're hitting those times out there, 5 minutes have elapsed in this contest, 10 minutes have elapsed in this contest. For the appeal and the dudes, when you hear 5 minutes have passed, get your business in, because once that hits, it's time to go. It's time to start heading home, however your finish is. Now, for the Unwanted and Hayes and Cass, they had moved up in the card because last time they were the pre-show. So now, hey, at 10 minutes, go home. 10 minutes, we want you guys to go home. They're getting more time. Even though the titles aren't on the line, they've been put with 2 tag matches on the show. They've been put in the situation where their tag match is actually going to be the longer tag match of the night, which sometimes you have to do with these teams when you're trying to get them more time and more exposure in front of the audience. In that case, there was some dead time during the heat. So one thing I wanted to talk to everybody about today, whether it's a tag match, whether it's a singles match, whether you're these promotions that want to put fucking 150 people on one card and do so many multi-man, multi-woman match, intermix, whatever matches. I wanted to talk about, if you do not have your crowd, right? So let's just take a tag for a quick example. I'm going to let you talk about it, and then we'll break into a singles. Let's take a tag for a second. If they're not doing this, obviously we talk about it many times with Adam on the show many times. You want to hit them when they're up here, because that's going to be the loudest noise, bump, 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 whatever. If you let it cool down a decimal or two, you're tagging somebody in that's not going to get, it's not a hot tag no more. It's either a lukewarm tag or a cold tag. Nothing's going to build up after that. You lost them. So the one thing that I wanted to talk about in that situation is, if you're a tag wrestler and you are, and you have put this match together and you go, okay, this is my comeback and I'm making my hot tag right here. If the crowd is not up, right? If they are not up, do not make that tag, because that's not a hot tag. If you are the heel in this situation and the crowd's not up and you see him crawling over there, pull him back, hit that guy so he registers. Let him know, I'm going to hit you, register, get in, draw the referee to you, and then we can cheat, and then we can work the crowd so that we can piss them off and get a reaction out of them, and then that guy can start hitting the buckle or stomping his foot on the ground, and now we have to get him up. So if there was that tag match where they were dead during the heat, so I sent somebody down there to say, hey, just say 10 minutes has elapsed, so they start going home. And they said it about the 8-minute mark or whatever. And it's not that they're not there. So you as the wrestler have to go, okay, we're either not doing a good enough job of getting heat because maybe we're so hyper focused on the moves that we're not focused on that audience, or maybe they're just not into it right now. So we have to do something to get them into it. We cannot make this tag or make this comeback if the audience is not ready for it. Your thoughts, my friend, don't fall asleep on me.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm definitely not falling asleep, man. I'm just listening intently. So, I think with what you're saying, and as you're talking, I'm thinking about like if you did give them the 10-minute go home, and it was the opposite of what you're saying. Like if you start getting them up and they haven't hit 10 minutes, that's also a good indication. Like, hey, let's go home right here. We got them.
Mhm.
So we can work both ways, right? So and I don't know. So what is the expectation that you go tell them, hey, it's time to go home? That you think that they're gonna just somehow get the crowd into it, or are you just kind of saying, hey, let's go home? It's a lost cause at this point.
No, I'm saying like in a tag match situation, if you don't have them on the heat or they're not there, let's say you planned out like I'm going to hit this move and that's where I'm going to make the comeback. I'm making my hot tag at this move. Well, if they're not hot at that move, the heel, the guys need to know in the back if it's the end of the match, I might knock you when I hit you. If you're on the outside of the ring, I might knock you off the apron. But if it's not, if we're in the heat, if we are the heels in the heat of the match, especially in a tag match, and I run over there and I knock you off the apron, or I hit you while you're on the apron in the corner, register that and get in the fucking ring so that you draw the referee to you so we can cheat behind your back. Because if I hit you over there and I knock you off the apron and you don't come immediately in the ring, then the referee doesn't get distracted. And I did that for no reason because now we're just standing in the middle of the ring with the referee looking at us. So we can't double team the wrestler. We can't generate any heat like we're supposed to. So if it's in the heat of that match, if you're about to make a hot tag, is what I'm saying, and the crowd isn't with it, don't just make that tag because you planned out you planned that basic cutoff right there and you're going to tag in. If they're not there, the heel needs to run over and knock the baby so the baby draws in so that they can double team to start getting the audience to boo them. And then when they're done booing them and they hold their arms out and get their heat, now the baby face can really start moving down that apron and pumping his fist because now the wrestlers, it's, I'm saying in the heat. Like if you have no heat, they had no heat. The people I'm talking about in this case, and I see a lot where the heels don't have any heat. They're just wrestling. They're just like, oh, I'm just acting like a bad guy, but I'm not doing anything as a bad guy to get to rile the audience up. So they're in turn, they're not getting behind this baby face. And it's even worse when the heel isn't doing his job to rile and get with the audience. And the baby face is laying flat dead on the mat with his head down like a dead fish. So I'm just saying one thing, and but you said it too right there, which is a very valid point, where you said it could be the opposite way. So explain to us what you were talking about. If the match, if we say to go home in 10 minutes, what if at 5?
Right? Yeah. If it's at 5 minutes and you are doing such a great job as a heel, putting the heat on that the crowd is starting to come up, where you might want to go, hey, this is good. This is our time right here, right? Where we're gonna get that, give me something, go get the hot tag right now because the crowd's up, they're ready to burst right now. So, and that goes right back to just to listening to the crowd, right? You have kind of a an idea of what it's going to be like. Hey, when it gets time, when they call that 10 minutes, here's where we think we're going to be. We're going to be putting the heat on you, and we're going to be building to where we go to the hot tag. But if it's if the crowd is just really into it, they think that you're a piece of shit because the guy's down and you're stomping on his fingers or whatever it is. Where they go, this guy is just an asshole. He's not cheating, but man, I really despise these things that he's doing because he's just being mean. So I think that that's another opportunity. And you've talked about it, but a bunch of times before, right? You have an idea of how long this match is going to go. You need to take up a certain amount of time, but at the same time, the promoter is going to understand because they're going to hear the crowd, right? They're going to hear it and they go, "Hey, man, you went home at the right time, even though you went home 3 or 4 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, before I needed you to. Now we just have to have somebody else fill in that time." But I mean, that's the name of the game. Is we're listening to the crowd, and we're trying to base our movements and things like that, the go home, the hot tag, all those different things based off of where the crowd is at, where their reaction is. So yeah, I mean, you talk about you had someone go home early, but that's also a very viable option if you have the crowd where you want them, where you want, at where you normally have the hot tag. Like, hey, this is a good spot. Let's do it right now. We got him. Boom, we're going to go home. We're going to get a huge reaction. The promoter is going to be like, man, they were into that. And
Yeah,
regardless if you went home a little early, you're all good.
name one, right? Name a promoter that's going to be pissed off that the crowd blew their lid and was happy. Oh man, that crowd jumped out of their seat and threw their babies up to the roof, and that noise was unbelievable in match number 2. But they went 2 minutes. They still had 2 more minutes to go in this. I'm done with these guys. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you show me that promoter, and I'll show you a promoter that's not going to ever make any money in the wrestling business. But I mean, is there anything funner? Is there anything more fun than some good tag team wrestling, man? Because the elements that you can use, you take some good tag team wrestling and you put a good a heel manager out there. You put a Jimmy Hart, you put a Bobby Heenan, you put a Slick. I mean, back in the day, I mean, when they brought in Oliver Humperdinck, and you kids go look up Oliver Humperdinck, he was like, besides Miss Elizabeth, he was like the epitome of like just this big fat redheaded baby face manager. And you were like, oh God. He sure the hell wasn't no Captain Lou Albano, but Lou Albano used to be with the Wild Samoans and a bunch of other teams. He was a bad guy. Tag team wrestling done right is just this beautiful thing, man. And I remember me and Rick, and we had Marcus Mack. And I remember that when we came back to PCW, I put Dave Dutra and Matt Carlos together as Team Luxury. And you think of all these tag teams, but Boyce LeGrand with Lucian Delight, we put Derek Slade and Dominic Teixeira together as the Bad Boys, the Reno Scum. How many times have you gotten a good booking and a solid match because you showed up with Adam or Malachi or Luster or somebody, and it was a tag match? Can you think
Oh,
of any like random tag matches that you've had just on a card and got booked with one of these guys that ended up being like just one hell of a contest?
Oh, of course. I think a lot of times if you got in the ring with Adam and Luster, I remember me and Malachi tagged against them. I know that like Corey and Malachi tagged against them. Uh, I remember a lot of different tag teams, like tag matches like that. And I think one of the tag matches that really sticks out in my head was um, JMM. It was, I want to say it was his first match or one of his first matches. Someone didn't show up and he got tagged with someone else, and it was against the Classic Connection, right? And those were guys that oh man, I just love those guys because I mean, it's exactly what you're just talking about right now when you're talking about guys that can get heat during the beatdown, right? Putting the heat on somebody and they can just get heat, man. And it wasn't because they were doing flashy moves. In fact, the finish of that match, I remember it just clear as day. It was just a slingshot suplex. That was the finish. And I was just like, man, it was so simplistic. but they're like, yeah, but that move finishes someone in the old school wrestling, right? And we are old school wrestling. So to me, that was one of those things where, they could have easily just taken that match and kicked the shit out of two young guys, but instead they went out there and had a classic match with two guys that were far from their league, but in that particular night, they made these two guys look like they belonged in that match. So um, that was just one of those things, and that was one of those rare situations where somebody comes and you have a certain amount of money you're going to pay them, and you go to them afterwards and say, "Hey, man, uh, that match was amazing. Here's some extra money." So, and I know as promoters, that's not a common thing to do, to say, "Hey, you earned extra money," but I know you like to do that when there's a large house, when someone has an over the top really good match. It's like the extra little something in the envelope. So um, I think that those are amazing situations to have. Um, you had talked about multi-man matches, trying to get a ton of people on the card. And I think about, like, we're going into WrestleMania season right now. And I think about, I feel like they try to get a lot of people on those big shows, right? And do you think it's a matter of like, hey, we think this is going to be the biggest draw, so we're going to try to get more people opportunities. So we're going to kind of, make shift some matches because it's a big show. We're going to make some money, so we can maybe we can afford to pay some more guys. What do you think the thought process behind that is?
Thought process behind that, no offense, been in this same situation many times before. There were 3 or 4 guys I held off at this last show. I just said, no, you're not on this one. Not everybody gets to wrestle every time. This is the big one. And I think it comes down to guys, promoters or whoever's booking it. They just don't want, they don't have that mean streak in them, or that business savvy to stick it there and say, hey, not tonight. We don't need you for a couple shows. Maybe we'll bring you back. And you run into that. I watched Fog City. I remember you were down there with me when it first opened up. That for the first 2 shows, we were doing it in some warehouse in like a shitty part of San Francisco. But there was 400 or 500 fans the first 2 shows, and then Dom and Steve-O, everybody, all of us, they had their crew. We were the crew when we first came in, and then it blew up. Rikishi was there the first night. It just kind of blew up. I was working with Reno, the Black Pearl from down at Knox, the trainer at Knox, and it just kind of blew up. And then by the 3rd show, everybody had hit them up going, man, I want to get on the card. I want to get on the card. And this thing just started turning into, instead of a good 2.5, 3 hour show, it just started turning into everybody in Bay Area wrestling, Sacramento wrestling, everywhere. Everybody started getting on the card. So you went from 6 or 7 matches to now you got 9 to 10 matches. The show's dragging on past 3 hours. Things are too many battle royals, too many fatal 4 ways, too many scramble match, or just whatever. You know, the worst one for me is the match where you see 4 tag teams on the corner, 8 guys
Right.
out there. It's
Of
like,
course.
Jesus, do a gauntlet or something. You know what I mean? Like, at least if you do the gauntlet, you can pace out each match and get everybody over in a singular tag. It was just, it becomes a thing where we have to squeeze everybody on this card. So we have to just say no sometimes, man. We talk about it all the time. The answer to the why is simple. We don't got the room for you tonight, especially if we've been building something up and you're not there, especially if you're supposed to be coming to training and you ain't been around. These decisions become really easy when you look at the work that it takes as a team to get to that level. If you're not putting in the work at this time, you do not have a spot on a bigger card.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking more of, what if it's you earn your spot on a big show? Like make it special in that way. Instead of making it special by, I'm going to invite everyone and their mom to be on the show. Maybe it's hey, you got to bust your ass and you got to prove that you're worthwhile to be on this show. Because all we're doing is 6 matches, 7 matches, 8 matches, whatever it is. Because we're going to keep this show at um, a certain time, first of all, and then we're also going to keep it at a certain work rate as well, right? And if you're not on the level, try to get better for next year. I wonder if it would be better handled like that, because I think about when we had our wrestling school and we used to run shows there, right? Where it would be like the place only holds 105 people, right? We got 105 chairs. And the whole goal was, let's build this up to the point where people are standing at the door waiting to get in. And then you get to the 105th person and you go, hey guys, sorry, we're all sold out. And the rest of the people have to leave, right? And then they get that mentality. Well, I'm not getting turned away next time. I'm getting there earlier. So where we had people standing outside 2 hours before the show started because they weren't getting turned away this time, right? I'm not losing my spot because I'm not there on time. I'm going to get there, and you build some sort of expectation for that show. So why don't we do that with these big shows as well, right? Make it, hey, you got to be at this certain level, right? And if you're not there, keep working, whatever. But then it's almost like a bigger deal when you can say, hey, I was on this show, right? It was their biggest show of the year, and I was on it because I was a part of this and I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I got to a certain work rate where the crowd was excited that I was going to be there. It was their biggest crowd of the year, and I was on that show, and I drew part of that crowd, or whatever the mindset is. But I think if it was a little bit more like that, then it wouldn't be just like, oh well, this is the big show, and everyone and their mom's going to get to be on it.
When we first started Work Farm Wars, it was a tribute to Roland and Gym Wars. That's why we called it Work Farm Wars. And we did that for like 5 years. And it started out small. And it started out with like just using our guys. And then over time, some guys started, like Adam called down and like, hey, I'd like to get Carl and then Steicher and some of the guys on the card. It looks like a lot of fun. And next thing you know, it went from this is what we pay you at the bigger shows. We'll pay you half of that to work these work farm wars. And then you go from, okay, we went from we were just doing this for the experience to now this is becoming a big film thing. And we're throwing the big guns out there. And now it becomes a thing where you got a payroll. Well, here's the problem with that. You're talking about the 105 fans and you turn them away after that. The problem with that is if you're trying to generate money, right? If you're trying to get a bigger show somewhere else, Big Paul, Adam, Luster, Malachi, Choopy, whoever you're using down in Reno, if they can see those guys and there's titles on the line and stuff like that in that building with 105 fans, then they can watch it there at that close level. If you try to go somewhere else, whether you go down to Sparks or Winnemucca or just wherever you're going there in the Carson City, if you try to go somewhere else within an hour distance or whatever and try to promote a big something big with the big talent, you might not generate that. You might get the same amount of fans or maybe a little bit more, maybe less when you're trying to do something bigger. So you have to use these smaller shows, especially if you're an East Bay pro. If you're a next level trying to, and I'm just talking about guys I know that have their own facilities, you got to use those smaller shows to facilitate the bigger shows as a vehicle. So Ugly has the matinee shows at the school, and then he's got the Jackrabbit shows in Sacramento, and then on top of that, he does the shows in Vacaville. Well, Vacaville is the biggest chance for him for massive attendance. So that's where you're trying to take these people to. You're trying to take them to Vacaville because Vacaville's not too far away from Sacramento. Shit, Vacaville's not too far away from Yuba City. It's not a crazy drive or anything. I think less than an hour, definitely. So you got to use these smaller shows to build your talent upright, the students and the young guys, to give them an opportunity. But you also have to use those as a vehicle to get them to the Jackrabbit and elevate the game a little bit more there. And then you have to use both of those shows as vehicles to elevate everybody to your biggest venue in Vacaville. You got 3 venues, 3 different types of crowds. This is our smallest. This is our medium. This can be our biggest one. You got to use them all as a vehicle to bounce and build off each other, whether you got a solid YouTube show or not. So I feel like in those situations, you definitely can't just always. We've made that mistake too. If you could see Zack Primetime Reeb versus Rick Luxury for the PCW championship in front of 150 fans at Work Farm Wars, well, here in a month, are you really gonna in a 400 or 500 seat venue at the Southside Community Center? Are you gonna get that many people in there to watch the same damn match?
Right, and I think that that kind of goes back to the old school idea of you don't put those type of guys on TV, you know, when you had the WWF, right? You don't want to put this match that people can watch for free. You don't want to put that on TV when you can sell tickets to a live show somewhere bigger where people would have to go, okay, well, I got to pay to see this match. Or back in the day when there was pay-per-views, right? I'm not going to put this one on Raw because I want to get the pay-per-view buys, right? I don't want you to just watch this on your regular cable station. I want you to pay an extra, 50, $60 to watch this on pay-per-view, right? So it's the same idea, right? You're taking these smaller shows and you're using that as a vehicle to build to these bigger shows, right? Give them a little taste, but hey, you're gonna have to come to this bigger show. Costs a little bit of money, a little bit more money. You might have to drive a little bit, but now you're going to get to see that match that we've been building to, right? And I guess we kind of go back to that example with me and you. We were using the little venue in building each month on what might happen to draw at that big show where we can go, hey, this is where Primetime's finally going to get his hands on this guy who's been causing havoc for the last couple months. So using that type of that mindset and that type of I don't know, just going about it that way, that business model like that. Our thing was the smaller show was like, we're going to sell $10 tickets, and then when it becomes pushing and shoving, I got to get in there. Well, you know what? Now the price goes up. So even with the same amount of people, you're going to make a little bit more money as well. So that was our mindset with that smaller venue that we trained at. Because obviously when you don't have to rent a venue, you're already training in it. You're getting students to pay the rent on it because that's their training dues. Then that extra money is all profit at that point, right? So that was kind of our mindset. But obviously, it would have been way better if it was like, okay, well, we're going to fill this 105 seats, and then we're going to build these little matches, give you a little taste of it here and there, right? It might just be a run in, it might be something that sets up that bigger match at a bigger venue. Now you can sell, 400 or 500 tickets, building off of some storyline that you were running in the smaller venue. So I think you got a great point there with basically taking those small shows, right? Take this little one, build it to the next one, and then here we're going to have that big show. And we've talked about that in the past. Running some smaller cities, and then you have the every 4 months or whatever. You have, well, we're going to run it in the big city now, right? So we're going to take all these small towns that are around there, and then everyone's going to gather in the bigger town, in the bigger venue, and it's going to have the big fight feel. So I think you have a great point there. Yeah, I mean, what else, man? What else can we talk about today?
Well, you got to think about that. Like, it wasn't me finally getting my hands on you that made that so interesting. It was I, fuck, this guy's too big. He's gonna try. The guy we like's gonna try, but fuck, man, we think he's in some trouble here. He's giving up too much size. He can't pick him up. He can't do nothing to him. That's the thing about having a bigger guy in your main event or with your championship is it's gonna be a slower pace match. Nobody can pick him up. We can't pick. We don't. There's a rare few guys who can. Cal Jack could pick you up, a rare athlete, but we can't pick you up. We can't do nothing to you. So it's going to be this style of a match. And when people try to differentiate from this style of a match, it throws the entire universe, you know what I mean? Throws the whole structure off of it. Like, I should be selling for you the whole time. This audience should be going ape shit trying to get me back up to get behind you. And you said it earlier, and it's so important, is like, and I get when you're filming TV and stuff, but you said it earlier and it's so vital, is like when you hear them and they're louder than you've heard it before, they're ready. So do something afterwards. If you got to fill 3 or 5 minutes, take a little extra time milking it if there's nothing else to do, really, really own it up. Oversell something at the end of the match to really put the guy that beat you over so you can sell an injury, do something. But we talk about TV, and back in the day, people were lucky because, you got Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, all of them on NWA television in that little studio. Those guys weren't getting paid. They didn't get paid for that shit. They got paid for the house show in the big arenas when they came through. They got paid for the Starcades and the stuff like that. So television, which in turn is like, if you have a program, right? Like we're about to start up Limelight. And I just signed all the stuff today in that building over there, which seats 300 to 400 fans, but it's in my hometown. And that vehicle is going to be a 2-hour show, and it's Limelight. It's going to be like a real television show that starts at 7. We go off we stop at 9. You're done. You better get your shit in by the end of that thing. And when Doc's going to throw that damn copyright sign up and who the producers are. But yeah, that's something that if you come to that, maybe you don't get paid. There's all other things you get, but maybe you don't get paid because you're building something to the convention center. You're building something to the community center in Red Bluff. You're building this that's going to get put out there because we're generating an interest for a bigger matchup that these people here and these other towns are going to pay for. So yeah, you can't give it away if you got something. I see so many promoters and I'll say, hey man, that's your money match right there. And they're so quick, they want to go to it real quick. And I'm not even going to use an example of the person or anything I'm talking about. I'm just going to say I've told people like, hey, that's your money match. And they're like, oh yeah, I know. And I'm like, this guy don't know.
Right.
He's just saying it, right?
There's a
He's just
money
saying,
match, but I'm going to give it away for free. Man, you talked about the television stuff, and that brings back those great memories of back in the day and watching that television product. And you remember how it was where you had the television time remaining, right? Or you had the match that was in progress that just went off the air, right? It's like, sorry, folks, we're out of time. We'll get back to you next time and let you know what happened, right? How this match concluded. Uh, and I just love that the cliffhanger effect. I don't think right now with the way that the internet is, we have that opportunity. But how cool would that be if it was television time remaining, right? And at 9 o'clock, that's it, man. Ring the bell, regardless of where these guys are at. Because how cool is that going to be? That now you got to come back and see what happens, right? They went to a time limit draw, and it was just right in the middle, right? Nobody had an advantage. You could work so many great things off of just that for
but
the
that's
Limelight
it.
product.
But that's it. That's how you book it. Like you could book it like that. You could book, let's just say a Limelight where we're going to be filming it for 2 hours. Let's just say Bad News is defending the belt against someone, or say a title's on the line. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, Doc and whoever, you and Doc go off the air. At 9, you go, there's a minute left. What? Oh my God, we're out of time. We'll see it. And they don't see the finish of this match. And you produce it like you're saying, which is ingenious. You produce it like that's when you went off the air. And then that next episode of what you're filming, you come back and you show the conclusion from that week. The audience that night gets to see the finish of that match.
Right.
But the people that are watching, because we got different people watching, and that's why I think the production is so important, man. If you're running something out there, and like I said, if you think I'm talking about you, we probably are, and it's not a knock on you. It's not a knock on you. It's just maybe a little booster. Get production. Get some production because that's so key in getting your product out there because there's more product, there's more people, there's more eyes right here on this screen than are going to be at your show. I mean, sometimes you could look at these things and go, man, we only got 100 something views. Well, a lot of places don't get 100 something fans. So, and this is their business. You know what I'm saying? This is your business. This is what you're selling tickets for. A lot of wrestling companies have to find other avenues. I know some places don't generate as much ticket revenue or concession revenue because they don't focus on that, and they get a lot more sponsors. And then some places, find other things to do. There, I've seen you do it. There's birthday parties. We're gonna sell this. We're gonna sell this show to a birthday party, which is good. You're making your money, but what you're trying to do at the end of the day is you're trying to generate a fan base. Here's how I can always tell. This is how I can always tell my product if somebody's really over because I bring somebody in who knows, nobody knows who the fuck they are, whether it's friends, family, whatever. Nobody knows who they are. When we brought JMM back, nobody knew who he was. They had no clue who he was. He had no family and friends in the crowd. He's from Nevada. He comes down and he riles up an entire arena and in turn gets another baby face over. Like that's what got Dickie Dakin over was JMM. So if a guy can come to PCW and get in the ring and nobody has a clue who he is and he can do his job and get that place going, I go, that dude's good right there. No matter what anybody else thinks about him, that dude is really good because it's like I was doing stand-up comedy and I started inviting my friends and Drake Nelson told me, he said, don't invite none of your friends. I know it's a comfortable thing, but he said, don't invite them. I said, why not? He goes, because they'll laugh. You want to walk out there in front of people that have no clue who the fuck you are and no family members, no friends, because if you're funny, you're funny. If you're a good performer, if you're good at what you do in wrestling, they'll boo you, they'll cheer you, they'll react. You watch a movie, you're either a good actor or you're a bad actor. I mean, there's no two ways around. That's what I love about comedy, though, is like you can't fake funny. You know what I mean? You can't fake it.
Absolutely. And I think that you make a good point there. And obviously that comes from Drake Nelson working in the comedy scene and going all over the place where he doesn't have people that he knows in the crowd. So perfect guy to take that advice from. But man, that works so well in pro wrestling as well. I always tell guys, you'll know when you're over when you can go somewhere that nobody knows you and you can get over there, right? You don't have to bring your crowd of lackeys, for lack of a better uh, term. You don't have to bring your fans with you to chant your catchphrase or to do the chant that everybody does, because you bring all of your fans with you. So I think that's the perfect way to find out, right? I was just watching the podcast of the guy that does some production at our show, and he just started a podcast himself. So shout out to old Dale Clifford for getting his podcast started today. So that's exciting for him. But I was watching the first interview on the way up here to Vegas, right, or I was listening to it, and he was talking to the guy Ricky Price, who lived in Nevada at one point, then moved back to New York, and then he came out to our show. right? And it was one of those things where all of his family and friends were in the audience, so he got this huge, ovation and things like that. But I was looking, at his work, and it's like the dude can work as well. So not only did he get his family and friends all riled up and behind him, but he was able to connect with other fans there as well, because the guy knows how to work, right? And it was kind of funny. It just made me laugh because you always say the same thing. Because the guy asked him, "What'd you think of the altitude? Altitude's a real thing right there." And he goes, "I'm in great shape. I didn't think it was going to bother me." And I get out there, and he goes, "I'm going to tell you what, man, it did affect me." I started feeling it. I started breathing heavy, and I was like, "Oh, that's reminds me of you so much." Like I can do this all day at sea level, but when I get up to this altitude, it's a different story. So, such a such a great advantage that we have up here in the in Reno, Nevada.
Well now I wrestled Rayshawn down there. We wrestled that tag match against the Sombrero guys. I wrestled Preston Price and now Dickie Dakin. So it's like now I'm down there every month wrestling, and I'm just saying, like, my breathing has gotten better. I've adapted a little bit to the breathing to be down there. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I will be cruising up that altitude again. Are there going to be people there?
Oh man, I hope so. I feel like I just got a message from somebody that said, "Sorry, I'm not going to make it." Yeah, one of the guys said, "Sorry, I'm not going to make it to training tomorrow."
How many is this? Like,
Huh. I'm think I'm thinking
should
you're gonna. I think you're gonna have two or three guys, but
should I stay home?
I don't know, man. You tell me. We
I
could
don't
we
know.
can make we can make the
That's
last
pretty
minute calls.
early. That's pretty early, man. I'm just trying to
Uh,
lock this down because that's
right on. You're gonna be there. You're gonna get to work with JoJo. JoJo's the guy, man. That's
a
that every
long
training
drive.
session.
That's a
A
long
long
drive to
drive.
work with somebody, man. It's a long drive.
Uh,
And that's the thing
hey,
too.
hey, the lawman's gonna be there. Oh, he said he has to get out of there quick. He has to be home at 1, I think is what he said.
Oh
Hour
no.
drive to hour drive to the house. So
Oh no.
you get to pick on Larry for a couple hours, and then who knows?
I'm gonna kick the shit out of Larry, as a matter of fact. I
Right,
hope Larry, well, that's why it's not live, because if it was live, I'd be talking shit to Larry right now.
right,
That's that's the thing though, man. But that's what it comes down to, is like, been doing, you do something for so long, and you're heading up, I'm heading up somewhere to do something. And are there people that even give a shit? You know what I mean? We talk about this all the time. Like, do these guys give a shit? I say the same thing here. Like, I had a nice class on Sunday, and then Thursday some people showed up and they rolled in, and it wasn't bad, but it's like, where not four new guys came, and then four new guys did not show up on Thursday. And then I hit up the three of them because they ride together, and I said, "Hey, man, where are you guys?" And they're like, "Oh man, I meant to message you this morning. We won't be here today, but we'll be here Sunday." And I said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you thanks. I'm gonna give you this heads up one time that you need to get a hold of me and let me know." Because that's a shitty way to start. You show up, I give you the opportunity to try everything out. Okay, here's what we're going to do. First class is Thursday. Now we'll see you on Sunday. It's only 2 a week. So you're asking these guys to show up on a Thursday and Sunday, and then these guys don't show up till Sunday. And it's like living the dream, winners. It's like, this is 12 months or 288 hours, right? So, like, where are you guys from the last one? You guys are like 9, 10 months into this shit, and neither one of the living the dream winners are in any position to have completed the 288 hours, or or not. The 12 months is almost up. So then it's like, hey guys, I gave you 12 months of free instruction and you did not utilize that 12 months. Now you have to pay. Now you have to pay because I gave you 12 months for fucking free. And 5 minutes remain in this podcast. 5 minutes remain in this podcast once again. And I know that's a thing. And it's not I'm not complaining, because in the end of the day, I don't give a shit. If you don't give a shit, why do I give a shit? Am I right there?
You're 100% right. This. I think this. I made this comment to you another day that um, people just don't see the value in it. Right? If it's for free, they don't think it has value for some reason. Right? You win this. You came and you tried out for this contest. Obviously, you wanted to win, and then when you win, it doesn't have any value for some reason, and that's unfortunate that that's how it is. But you had mentioned before that 100% of the people that you have to call up on the phone and ask them where you at don't make it in the wrestling business.
No.
And obviously there's a reason for that, right? If I have to call you and tell you that you need to be at training, if you want to be a pro wrestler, we're probably far past the part where um, I'm gonna be able to get you to be a pro wrestler. You're doing this just for fun, or you're doing it because you thought it would be fun, or hey, I just want to try it out, or whatever. And I feel like most of these people are the guys that are going to tell you how much. Oh, I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to try so hard. It's been my dream. All this stuff, and then this happens.
like seriously, the another weird stat to this is we just had this last one, living the dream winners number 11 and 12, and including these two, if not even one of them makes it, that will be 0% of living the dream winners have made it. And I don't mean made it to the WWE. I just mean made it as through the training as an actual wrestler on the indie wrestling level. 0% have made it, and 100% of living the dream winners have failed. 10 of them, 10 of these motherfuckers, and now we're on 11 and 12. And it's the old adage right here, real quick. If you make your kid buy his bicycle with the allowance money that you give him from doing chores, that kid's bike is gonna be tits, man. It's gonna be chains, gonna be oiled, tires are gonna be great, aired up. Hey, can I ride your bike? No, you can't ride my bike. But if you, as a father, just go out without any chores or nothing and just buy that kid a bike whenever he wants, he's gonna give that bike to someone else. He's gonna fuck that bike up. He's not gonna care. He's not gonna care because he didn't have to pay for it himself. And you see that when they're putting the ring away and setting the ring up and stuff like that at the show. They're just tossing shit around. They don't give a fuck because it's not theirs. They do not care, man. And that's just the saddest part. My dad's the biggest stickler. Someone will break his fucking light on one of his trailers and he'll just be like, which one of those pieces of shit broke my light? He's like, I'm not even going to ask. You are going to go and you are going to reprimand everybody in that school until someone says, one of them cocksuckers come up and say, I broke or someone rats somebody out and says they did it. Because people just don't care anymore, man. And that's the shitty part. So we'll see tomorrow. We'll make the trip up to Reno, and the guys that don't show up, when I see them next time, I just will let them know that they're failing miserably in professional wrestling.
Plain and simple. Hey,
Yeah.
bud, you don't got what it takes. I'm sorry,
No.
but you're cut. You're eliminated from the competition of being a pro wrestler. So, it's too bad, man. But I think you're gonna have some guys that are really excited. They expressed their excitement that you were gonna be there, and so that is positive for me. Obviously you're gonna show them things that I would not show them. I'm sure they're going to learn something new, like they always do from you, and they're going to come away with some great information and great knowledge, and hopefully that just continues on. We're going to start running on
Message,
Sundays as well. So,
message me the quitter. I want to know the man or the woman that has quit
uh,
on us. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul from Las Vegas, prime time from in his living room. We're going over.